Hi everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariba, and early in this morning, I'm actually up very early because we're about to get the second trailer for The Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I've been talking about this movie for quite some time now. I've actually done the reaction for the first trailer, as well as even did a breakdown, because this is one of the rare times where I've actually read the source, like the original source, and I'm very familiar with what the story is, what happens. And when it comes to the Hunger Games, like I've said before in those previous videos, if you haven't checked them out, I would recommend watching them because I have broken down my whole history with the Hunger Games. But long story short, I grew up watching the Hunger Games. It's been about It's been about 11 years for me since I've been, invested in the whole universe. Of course, the actual trilogy, like the books, ended back, 2010. The movies themselves finished in 2015. And then, of course, the author, Suzanne Collins, was able to write a prequel book that came out roughly in 2020. I had my hands on a copy, read it, finished it, and now here it is 3 years later. We're now about to watch the first, I guess you can say, spin-off for the universe, because of course this story takes place 64 years before, 64 years before Katniss Everdeen entered the games for the 74th annual. This one's gonna be focused on the 10th annual, so this is like one of the earlier games. And of course, like the whole story is gonna be following Coriolanus Snow, his origin stories, his rise to power, what basically led to that. And as I talked before, right, it's a very interesting concept because it's very unusual to really dive deep into a villain's origin story, and yet it somehow worked here. Like if I would recommend reading the book if you haven't, because I would assume that the movie itself will change a lot of the content from the book, but it's a very interesting take on how they kind of do a character study on Coriolanus Snow, what really led to kind of his ambitions, his drive to become this huge leader, the things that he would go to the extent to reach that goal. It's a very interesting story. I'm very excited to see sort of the recreation of this story being brought upon on the big screen. And as I said before, like I think the casting looks pretty solid. I know there's a lot of controversy regarding Rachel Zegler. Hopefully it will be controversial free going into this film, because for one thing, there is a strike, so neither Tom Blyth or Zegler can do any interviews for this film unless, by any chance the strike happens to end around now up until the movie's release, then maybe things might change. But as of right now, they cannot do any interviews for the film, so it'll just be kind of the producers, the directors, whatnot, right? But as I said before, I think the casting has been pretty solid. I think Rachel Zegler fits the role because of the moments that take place in the actual book, because she is a performer, unlike Katniss Everdeen, who is someone who's more of a survivor, whereas Lucy Gray Baird, who is the female protagonist in the story, is a performer. She's all about the theatrics. She loves the audience. She's someone who really likes to show her charm to the audience. And so I think that Rachel Zegler is definitely going to be able to nail that character down. And of course, Tom Blyth, who is playing the young Coriolanus Snow, I think so far he's really nailed his mannerism. As I said in the first trailer reaction, that I think he really nailed it. Like it shows off kind of this fake persona that he shows off to people, that, oh, he's nice, like on the outside, but he's really like devious and very manipulative and cunning in the inside, or at least that's who he will eventually become, because that's who he's going to become eventually in the future as this tyrannical leader, this tyrannical president of Panem. So yeah, no, I'm super excited to see this film. We're getting closer and closer to the movie's release. I know that going into it, like I was really kind of unsure if we're going to have this movie still released in November because of the whole strikes, but it seems as if Lionsgate's going to move forward with it, whether or not they have their actors or not. And of course, like this film is really packed. Unlike the trilogy, or at least how the trilogy started, like the only big name at the time was Josh Hutcherson, and then Jennifer Lawrence was still kind of the rising star. And same thing with Liam Hemsworth. He was sort of the rising star. But here it's like we actually have a very packed cast. We have Viola Davis, we have Peter Dinklage, Richard Zegler is a rising star, Tom Blyth is going to become a rising star, and of course Hunter Schafer is well known from Euphoria. So yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting movie going into it. I think, as I said before, from just the snippets from the first trailer, it seems as if they are very on point in really being faithful to the source. And I hope that continues for this film. I would imagine this is going to be a very long movie because of how very extensive the story is, because it's not just the games, but there's a lot of things happen before and after the games. And so, yeah, I'm very excited to see that we're getting a second trailer. Hopefully we'll get to see a bit more of Coriolanus' backstory, because I think that was one thing we kind of didn't get to have too much of a deep insight into, nor have we met his grandmother, who is also kind of a very important character in a sense because of her influence on him. So yeah, I think having said all of that, right, without further ado, let's get right down into the second trailer for The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. All right.
Mr. Snow, after everything you've seen out there in the world, what are the Hunger Games for?
They're showing. Oh my god, that's a Hanging Tree song. Oh! They're playing the Hanging Tree.
And to punish the districts. Those tributes don't have a choice.
Your role is to turn these children into spectacles, not survivors.
We're live!
Oh my god.
Smile. It's why we have teeth.
Imagine it was your name that they pulled.
Strange things do happen here.
I just want to know that somebody still cared about me. That I was
Oh
still
man, that's
valued.
Tigress. That's Tigress.
Welcome
She's
to
the moral
You
compass.
look like you shouldn't be here.
I shouldn't, but I'm your mentor.
A rebel.
Oh man, I'm loving it.
Out of here.
Oh, they're showing it. Oh god. Okay.
And it's essential to accept what human beings are and what it takes to control them.
Oh, but they're showing a bit more of the end of the book.
Use that famous snow charm.
You seem like a good man, Coriolanus Snow.
I have seen what war does to people.
This is a flashback. This is new. This is new.
Fueled with the terror of becoming prey. See how quickly we become
Oh, they're
predators?
showing the games.
I want my enemies to see a rainbow of destruction engulfing the world. You're monsters! All of you!
Good luck with that poor little songbird.
Where is she?
Oh my god. Oh, this. Oh, I know this. Oh, I know the scene.
And mysteries have a way of driving people mad.
I know the scene.
Mr. Snow, let me ask you one final time. What are the Hunger Games for?
Oh, that's sinister.
Hanging tree.
Oh my god, I'm watching that
It's the
again.
things we love most.
Of course, it's that one. Oh, I think that's the end of the book. Oh, so that was the second trailer for The Hunger Games, and honest to God, it seems so faithful to the book. Like every snippet I see, it's literally like what I remember from the books. Like the beginning part where Dr. Volumnia Gaul is having a lesson, is asking the purpose of the Hunger Games to Coriolanus, like that's coming directly from the book, and the fact that she asks about it at the end of the trailer, like this is like a whole cycle, right? Like there's a it's literally like I'm trying not to spoil too much from the books, because I know there's gonna be a lot of people who haven't read the books and are more of a casual watchers when it comes to Hunger Games, but it's literally like there is a lesson to all of what's happening in the 10th Hunger Games. She's basically is grooming him in a sense, and that's what leads to Coriolanus become the person that he is eventually, that we meet in the 74th Hunger Games, which is, again, during Katniss's time. But yeah, I mean, having seen the trailer, this is awesome. I have to say, like, it keeps getting better and better. There are definitely a lot more footage this time around than the first trailer. The first trailer definitely was giving a bit more of like a summary of what the games is seeming to look like, showing a little bit of the beginning, middle, and end. This one I feel like was really heavy on the things that were happening during the game and after the games. They show a lot of arena footage in this one, far more than they did in the first one. Like you can see the cornucopia, the bloodbath that happens. That was one bit that we got to see here and there, a little bit of where Lucy is and how she's hiding. And they do show a little bit of what happens near the end of the games with, you can see like a whole bunch of snakes just all of a sudden let go, have been released onto the games. It's a really significant moment there, and hence why it's called Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You have the snake part right there. And yeah, I mean, this is literally what I would imagine. Honestly, it seems that just from the trailers, it seems as if the movie itself is going to be very faithful to the book, which is very unusual to say, but it seems very faithful. Like I'm able to catch every single pinpoint of like any of the scenes from the book, and I'm more than happy to. And here's the thing: I'm going to be doing a breakdown, of course, of the trailer, just because like it is so close to the book, and I can really break down a little bit of some of the scenes where they could be located in terms of the book, where the snippets are, what this could imply. That's something I did with the first trailer, where I also did a breakdown for that, so I'm more than happy to do that for this one as well. But it's gonna definitely go into spoiler territory, so that's something just to keep a heads up on. But I do want to do a breakdown for this for sure, because it seems spectacular. The visuals are really looking good, especially considering the fact that this is like, it's been 8 years since the last Hunger Games movie has came out, and considering the fact that this is the 10th Hunger Games, during that time the capital didn't have the greatest infrastructure. They were still rebuilding from the first rebellion, and yet it seems as if everything is coming into play very well. You can see again, and I think what really is really interesting in this trailer is that we do get to see a bit of this hesitation, kind of his not his guilty conscience, but you can see a little bit of his morality kind of manifesting in this trailer, especially in the beginning of the first half, showing how he does seem a little bit sympathetic, how he's shocked by the games, which is very unusual for a character like Coriolanus because of his history later on in the Hunger Games. But this is what makes it so interesting, because his characterization does become very complex as a result of the games during this time. Like at one point he does seem like he is sympathizing, he is very, he doesn't like the whole idea of the games. And then even in one part we get to see a little bit more of Tigris, because she is also very important, because unlike Coriolanus, who is very focused on his ambition, his drive to become something more, right? To become this powerful leader eventually, that Tigris, on the other hand, is someone who has a moral compass. She does have a little bit of this guilty conscience, knowing that there is this thing called the games, and the whole purpose of it is to punish the districts by killing off 23 of the 24 tributes, until we get to one victor, right? And yet Tigris is the one who is very uncomfortable with the whole idea of the game, and she is trying to influence Coriolanus to kind of rethink the whole idea of it, understand that this is not right. And then again, this is going to be a bit of a futile, attempt, because again, we know what happens later on, but it's a very interesting take just to see a little bit of that dynamic. That was something that I was really hoping that they would be very focused on, because that cousin relationship between Tigris and Coriolanus is very, very essential into the storytelling, showing who Coriolanus is in the beginning of his, reign and all that sort of stuff. And then contrasting that with what happens, because we do get to see Tigris a little bit in the end, like roughly at the end of Mockingjay Part 2. And you can see how she becomes a whole different person, and, distrust Coriolanus and would actually want him dead, right? It's a really interesting contrast. The one thing we did not get to see, I don't think I spotted, was his grandmother, or in his, how he calls her, grandmam. So really interesting that we didn't get to see any of her in there. Maybe they're just, because she doesn't have a lot of screen time, at least in the book, but she is there, and she is someone who is very important to Coriolanus. She has put in a lot of investment into Coriolanus, and how there's a lot of, she basically raised him because of what happened to the rebellion. They both are orphans, Tigris and Coriolanus. So, but yeah, no, I have to say, this is just looking spectacular. The visuals look great. The fact that they play the Hanging Tree song, this is a reference, of course, to the original Hunger Games. This reference is actually in the book as well, so it's not anything new. This reference is in the book, where she eventually does sing the Hanging Tree verses. So I remember just reading that verse. I'll talk more about this probably in the breakdown, but just a quick note. I remember reading that verse in the book, and I literally just had the most shocking reaction, just because I was like, oh my god, this is from the original Hunger Games. Katniss sang this song, and this basically, sparked the rebellion. That this basically got, District 5, I believe it was District 5, who basically rebelled or did something at the, what was it? It was some sort of plant. I can't remember exactly details, but that's what happened, right? That's what literally ignited the rebellion. And now here it is. This is the Hanging Tree song, the song that's basically going to be haunting Coriolanus for quite some time. So yeah, really amazing stuff. I'm super excited to see this. Again, Tom Blyth, he is nailing Coriolanus, again, showing off a bit of that fake persona of who Coriolanus is. In this one, you can actually see a bit more of his emotional side, a true emotional side of who Coriolanus is, someone who does have a bit of, a conscience in a way, someone who isn't just a tyrannical person through and through, but someone who does have a little bit of that complexity. And I have to say, I have to applaud him. He's really showing a little bit of that nuance of who Coriolanus is, especially during this time where he's only 18 years old, still learning. And yeah, this is gonna be great. I totally cannot wait to see this movie when it comes out in theaters in November. But yeah, the trailer has been spot on with the books. The scenes look amazing. The visuals look spot on. The acting looks phenomenal, especially when you have Peter Dinklage and Viola Davis. Peter Dinklage, just him, just having a bit of that, not really a relaxed feeling, but someone who is very stoic, but also very aware of the whole idea of the games, because he is a very interesting character from the book as well. And I have to say, wow, just absolutely incredible. I love this trailer. It really definitely pumped my whole hype for this film. I cannot wait to see it. I think I basically touched upon everything I need to do, everything I need to say, because I've actually seen this trailer twice now. But yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. It's a really brilliant take of how they're replicating the story from the prequel. I think it's seeming to be very faithful. They do have one snippet, of course, the flashback, which I knew was going to be the new footage, but here they actually show a snippet of it, of a flashback which appears to look like Coriolanus and Tigris when they were kids during the first rebellion, and that is a very new footage. That is not in the books. I don't even think they really go into the details of anything that happened, any memories that they had during the actual rebellion, aside from just details of the general idea of what happened, the poverty, the rationing, how a lot of the buildings had, been broken, tattered, all that sort of stuff, their father and all that. So that was just really it, but they never really go into details of a specific scene. So that one is also very interesting as well. Cannot wait to see what the full snippet is. I believe it has already been confirmed that that's actually the opening sequence for the film. So we know that already. But yeah, aside from that, everything seems to be right on point with what the book has basically narrated so far. So again, I'm super excited to see the Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Again, the trailer looks really spot on. It's very faithful to the book from the looks of it. And I cannot wait to see how more they're going to go into it. Again, I love how they're showing a little bit of Coriolanus and Lucy's relationship. That's going to be very integral going to this film, because that's going to basically become the turning point of who Coriolanus becomes. And again, the triggering point of this eventual dictator. And they also show a snippet of the end. Man, I cannot wait to this breakdown. So I will do this breakdown For sure. But yeah, I think that's all to say about the trailer. It looks very promising. I absolutely loved it. It showed a lot more of what to expect. The anticipation is high. The performances look pretty incredible so far. The visuals are awesome. But yeah, that's all to say about the trailer. What are your thoughts about the second trailer for The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? Have you read the books? If you have, did you also notice a lot of the faithfulness of the scenes to the book, or did you think that there was a little bit of the differences that maybe I missed? What do you think about the new flashback scene that was never actually in the prequel, but it is in this film? What are your impressions so far? If you have not read the books, like, are you interested to see this film? Do you think that it's a really interesting take to really dive into the complexity of who Coriolanus Snow was during his youthful days? Or you're not really, or maybe the trailer hasn't really piqued your interest as of yet? What do you think about what they've shown so far? What do you think about the visuals, performances? Any other thoughts that you have in regards to just the movie itself? Like, implying about the whole Hunger Games universe, or anything about the characters, or just, anything, or just even just the whole setting and the whole tone and aspect of, and the aesthetic of the capital that we're seeing so far, because they do dive a lot into the whole capital's perspective here. And yeah, let me know if you have any other thoughts about not just the trailer, but just the movie in general. Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe.